Hi everybody, welcome to week 2 of Poetry for Prose Writers. Last week we discussed some essays and chapters on defining poetry and on the differentiation of poetry and prose. And we also read the introduction to our text, Don't Read Poetry. And thanks for your insights and thanks for the good discussions. In week 2, it's going to be line breaks, feelings, W.S. Merwin, and a few other things. On the reading discussion page, we'll read a series of essays on the line break again, and we'll listen to W.S. Merwin, and we'll read the chapter on feelings in our text, Don't Read Poetry. Feelings or lyric poetry. You'll also share a poem that you've read recently and feel is good enough to recommend, and we'll also do a line break exercise. So there's no journal assignment this week. There will be one starting in week 3. So as I've asked you to, as we read don't read poetry, just to find one thing that strikes you or that touches you out of each chapter. This week in chapter 1, I found this is what I found that touched me, and it's near the end. It's on page 58, and I'll read it to you. It's pretty short. It says, when lyric poems sound distinctive or memorable or somehow new, we can imagine the poem as a kind of breaking free or breaking away from mere words on the page and into the realm of the spirit, where souls meet souls. Now, that claim sounds like hokum to some. To others, it simply describes what happens when we read our favorite poems. And that's how I feel when I read some of my favorite poems. So I hope you guys have found something that touches you that you can share with the class in the discussion page as well from chapter 1. Also, along with you, I'm building my quick theory of the poetic line in these first few weeks of class. So I'm going to go back to what I said last week and add a couple things to it. First, I said there are no set rules for line breaks, and I still believe that. In general, that's still true. However, if I write metrically or to a standard form, like a sonnet, there are rules and limits to follow. So if you choose to write to a form, then there will be rules. The second thing I said last week is that the line break is the only inarguable difference between prose and poetry. I still say that's true. But we have to also consider, what about poetic prose, or even a bigger problem in this discussion, the prose poem? I think we'll discuss more on that going forward. What I'll add this week to the list of my line theory is it's becoming obvious, especially after reading the Mary Oliver chapter last week, is that the beginnings of a line and the ends of the line are important decisions. In other words, there should be reasons for the ending or turning of a line and the beginning of a line. And what are those reasons? I think that's for each poet to discover. But as we notate poems on the page, the end of a line and the beginning of a line are pretty important to the reader, and therefore the poet needs to take heed about that. And finally, I'm going to tell you that I'm not going to get stressed out. What I mean by that is I stumble if I'm composing metrically. I may use scansion in the revision process, but not in the composition phase for me. Like I said, that's just me. You may not stumble at all and find it just fine to do it that way. But what I do love is that the English language and how it walks, jogs, runs, and even stumbles using its feet, even in prose. And how this plays across line breaks, how the walking of language plays across line breaks is even more interesting and challenging. And again, we'll probably discuss more on that later as well. Okay, so there you have it for this week. Well, not all for this week, but that's it for now. I will see you online throughout the rest of the week.